Okay, we're going to take a look at P4-15A on page 185. In here, Sunspot Beverages Ltd. of Fiji makes blended tropical fruit drinks in 2 stages. Fruit juices are extracted from fresh fruit and then blended in the blending department. The blended juices are then bottled and packed for shipping in the bottling department. The following information pertains to the operations of the blending department for June. So we're going to assume that the company uses the weighted average method and first determine the equivalent units for June for the blending department. So there's our step 1. So given the information, the work in process beginning was 20,000 units, started into production were 180,000, completed and transferred out. Now remember, that's our starting point. Completed and transferred out. 160,000, both to materials and conversion. The next is the work in process ending. The 40,000, 100% complete with regards to materials. So the equivalent units would be 40,000. The conversion cost, 40,000 units started, but only 25% complete. So the equivalent units for the conversion would be 10,000 units. So the equivalent units of production for the month in the blending department would be 200,000 with regards to materials, 170,000 with regards to conversion costs. So remember what units you're using to determine the equivalent units. In the next requirement, they want us to compute the cost per equivalent unit for the blending department. Well, first we need to determine the total cost of materials in the beginning work in process, 25,200. So you have to remember, those costs are part of the costs that were transferred out, right? And then those added during the period with regards to material were 334,800. So the total cost of materials for June, 360,000. That produced 200,000 equivalent units. Remember, we converted, well, we didn't even need to because the ending materials were 100% complete with regards to materials, 200,000 units. So the cost per unit for materials, $1.80. Now the beginning work in process conversion costs, 24,800. Conversion costs added during the period of time, June, 238,700. So the total conversion cost, 263,500 to produce 170,000 equivalent units. The 160 that transferred out plus the 10,000 equivalent units that were started but not completed yet. And they were only 25% complete. So $1.55 is the cost per equivalent unit. Now, in the third step, determine the total cost of ending work in process inventory and the total cost of units transferred to the bottling department. Now, we remember, with regards to determining ending work in process, you're going to take the equivalent units in ending work in process, not the actual number. Since the number of units, 40,000, were 100% complete with regard to materials, we will include all 40,000 times the $1.80 equivalent unit cost. So the materials part of ending inventory, $72,000. But with regards to conversion costs, the equivalent units were only 10,000. 40,000 actual units, but only 25% complete. So the equivalent unit would be 10,000. Multiply that by the $1.55 cost per equivalent unit. The ending inventory with regards to conversion cost, 15,500. So if you add the materials plus the conversion costs, total ending work in process inventory in the blending department for June, 87,500. For purposes of determining how much do we debit the bottling work in process and credit the blending work in process inventory accounts, we'll take the actual units transferred out, 160,000 times the cost per equivalent unit of materials, $1.80. So the total costs associated with the materials of the items that were transferred out from this department into the next department, 288,000. With regards to conversion costs, the equivalent units transferred out for conversion costs were also 160,000 times the cost per equivalent unit of $1.55. The costs related to conversion of the items transferred out and into the next department, 248,000. So add materials plus conversion costs, which remember are direct materials and overhead. All costs are accounted for, $536,000. So that is how we apply the costs to the equivalent units, whether they're still in inventory at the end of the month or if they were transferred out. Finally, we do a cost reconciliation. In the cost reconciliation, we want to prove that actual costs agree with what we have assigned to ending inventory and the transferred inventory. So the cost of beginning work in process from your book was the $25,200 for materials, $24,800 for conversion, total of $50,000. The total costs added during June, $334,800 for costs of material, $238,700 for the conversion, the direct materials and or direct labor and overhead. Add them all up, the total cost that actually occurred, $623,500. If you go back to the previous slide, we already assigned $87,500 of costs to ending work in process for the blending department, and $536,000 of the cost was assigned to those items that were transferred out. So all the costs have been accounted for. They're either still in our work in process inventory in the blending department, or they were transferred out to the bottling department. Okay, so that is our process costing chapter. I know that was kind of a quick analysis, but it's pretty straightforward. But if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Remember, we use this in systems where we are doing the same type of activity in the department and we're producing a homogeneous result in the department each time.